Hi everyone. Our days in the yard have fallen into a routine. They begin early in the morning with a walk with Blondie, the impatient dog. After the morning walk, we have coffee. And I admit it, I am a coffee snob. We were able to find at Walmart for the first time here in Mexico Nespresso pods, and I can indulge in my guilty pleasure, cappuccino. We have found through experience that not all milk brands froth well, and Lala seems to be the best. Although for some reason this container of Lala is not frothing well. What do we do when we run out of pods? Drink Mexican coffee, which we also enjoy. After breakfast, we swing into action. Some of the projects are continuing, like the sanding and varnishing of Brightwork, and then spin-off, unplanned projects that need to be dealt with, such as the sun-damaged hatch slider and sea hood, both of which had been varnished and painted over respectively. Underneath the slider, the wood liner shows signs of water damage, and it appears the caulking in the seams has cracked and leaked. I removed the caulking from the seams on the slider. I do recommend the Teak Decking Systems caulk removal tool. It is pricey, and I had bought it when we still had teak decks in 2017, when I removed and recaulked the seams. The tool itself is just the right width for the seams. It has a slight bevel on its edges and works well for scraping off stubborn caulk from the sides of the teak. I thought at the end of last summer that I was finished using the heat gun forever. I did not envision having to use it on the boat. Luckily, we had it with us, and it worked well for removing the varnish. I then sanded the teak. On the sea hood, with its 1-part polyurethane paint, the heat gun worked even better, and I found the heat softened the caulk, making it easier to cut the edges with a box knife and then use the caulk removal tool. This portion went quite quickly, and the sea hood was also sanded. With the prediction of overnight precipitation, I taped plastic over the surfaces. The following morning, I taped a couple of the seams with the recommended bond breaker tape, and with fingers crossed, cut open the tip of the expired TDS caulking tube, which was a year past its use-by date. I was not terribly surprised to find it was unusable. This portion of the project will be put on hold until we head north to Arizona to pick up some boat supplies. In the meantime, Lee is proceeding with the sea hood. He took over from me in this portion of the project because I am allergic to epoxy. It is too bad because I do enjoy working with it, but not enough to go through the misery of the swelling and skin rash. Lee first applied a layer of plain epoxy to the seams and teak. He attempted to use a syringe of epoxy and fairing compound to inject the seams, but did not factor in the effects of the 205 fast hardener. The batch he mixed up quickly hardened solid in the syringe. Also, we had forgotten about the off-gassing, the bubbles that occur when epoxy is put on a warm surface, something we had learned when we were removing our teak deck. We really should have shaded the area. The next day, Lee removed the amine blush and with cooler weather mixed up a batch of Total Boat fairing compound. It is already thickened and is simply a matter of approximating the same amounts of resin and hardener, mixing the colors until a pastel green is achieved, and forcing the mixture into the seams, then sanding when hardened. Lee also noted this was a much better idea than using the syringe. Because he used less epoxy fairing filler than usual, so the epoxy would be able to flow through the syringe, it also made these seams harder to sand smooth. The sea hood is an ongoing project, and there will be more on it in the next video. Another thing Lee worked on this week was the overhead wiring. He routed new wire in the V-berth, and my reading light now works. Overhead wire runs have been secured with small zip ties, and he is installing terminal blocks at the overhead lights so that if the lights need to be replaced at a future date, it will be easy to connect the new light. This, of course, is dependent on the future ceiling panels being removable, and we have some ideas for making them removable. We're going to be trying them out, hopefully in a couple of weeks. Normally, the butterfly hatch stays covered. Otherwise, there is a hothouse effect in the cabin. With the arrival of a cold front, that effect is much appreciated. The cover has been temporarily put away and the shades removed from the ports in order to get as much solar heat as we can. And talking about solar, Omar, our welder, came to measure for constructing supports for our new solar panels. The anticipated cost of the supports led to several visits to the ATM at Banjercito, the Army Government Bank, where we find the lowest ATM usage charge and also the best conversion rates. The panel supports should be ready later this month. A few friends have splashed this week, and with maybe a touch of envy, we said goodbye to friends on Nomadic, who will be cruising locally, Naughty Siesta, who is heading to Mazatlan, and Striker, who is heading to the Baja, and maybe as far south as Barra. Blondie is missing her playmates, Samson, Maya, and Juno. However, for us, it's not all work and no play. We took an afternoon off and drove out to Doña Rosita's at the fishing village of La Manga and enjoyed being just where we are. In the next video, hopefully there will be more progress and maybe an item or two to scratch off our list. So, until then,